Hi, happy Tuesday, everybody. This is our session 2, second time we're meeting on, this is disciplinary literacy. I hope you're enjoying it so far. We've got a busy day today, kind of think through some things together. Let's start with, a reminder of the norms. We are respectful, we share, we keep our cameras on when possible, we minimize distractions. I am sitting with absolutely nothing behind me, so I guess I can at least say it's not distracting. If you would please just remind us by renaming yourself and adding your content area there. I'm Shayna, ELA. I mean, I'll always be an English teacher, even if I've been a principal and now I'm, at the State Department, I'll always be an English teacher. So get that in there. Does everyone know how to rename yourself? Kind of hover over your own picture and then you'll click on those 3 dots and you'll choose rename. Okay. What? The screen is
like you got stuff on top, so all you're seeing is like this part of the screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. I just want to share this square. Thanks, Timmy. Okay. Can everyone see everything I want you to see? Does it look like a slide?
No, on one side of it is gray. There we go. There we go.
All better?
I have no idea how to rename myself because I'm hovering, like you said, and there's no dots.
You know what? It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
And find yourself.
I'm just happy we have Deborah and Deborah's face. We've got you. So it's all good. Okay. So from last time, you were asked to find an authentic text that you could use in your classroom. Hopefully we'll use next school year, or I don't know, maybe some of you are doing summer school, an authentic text. So I'm going to put you in with a partner, and I want you to just share out. You have about 2 minutes each. Why is this text that you picked out? Tell us a little bit about it, and why is it authentic? What will make it engaging to your students? Because, I mean, we're nerds, we love to read stuff, but what will make it engaging to the students? And then how will this text build your students' complex knowledge of this content area? And then we looked at habits of experts in your field. How will this grow those? So just take a couple minutes and share out. I'm going to put you into pairs. Here we go. Ready to share? I know Timmy's got her article ready. Okay, participants polling. Breakout rooms. Yay! Sign. Okay, create. Okay, there you go. See you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. I hope everyone had their 2-minute talking turn. I would love for any or all of you to kind of unmute and tell us in general your
Shayna,
findings.
you have those great, every place you have something pulled up that's not the screen is being covered.
Good Lord.
I've never
Well,
seen it do that before.
that is very odd. Okay, well, we'll make it work for today. So in general, whatever you guys visited about, would someone like to share what were the biggest challenges in finding an authentic and engaging text to use with your students?
Mine is going to be, I'm going to have to purchase it myself. You know, because we get the curriculum, but anything other than that, we have to purchase. So I was actually telling Tammy, I'm wanting to get National Geographic for children for my class. Because
Nice.
it's science, so it can go with that, because my kids this year, they love to have conversations, and I'm trying to teach them to back it up with facts and information, and not and they'll argue it till they're blue in the face, but if they've got facts, we're good with it. So I figured that might be a really good one to use.
That's perfect. Don't forget about grants. There are lots of little grants you can write, especially when it comes to supporting literacy across the curriculum. So I know Timmy, went out and bought something almost immediately. Yeah. So anyone else? What else was a challenge besides the actual resources? But there's tons of free stuff on the internet.
Mhm.
I think for me, one of the hardest things is trying to find something that, because I know my kids, and I think a lot of teachers do know their kids. They know, okay, well, what are some things that I know they'll be interested in? Because I think that's half the battle, finding something that's not only a current event that they can make that connection with, but something that also is something that they genuinely care about. So I think that's one of the challenges I found, like trying to find something that they genuinely care about, and it will be on their level enough for them to comprehend it and have those conversations.
So I found an article in the New Yorker magazine, and it might not be written to the high school level, but it's about ethics in artificial intelligence. Like, I guess they're developing artificial intelligence that will listen to a voice recording and then design the facial features that they think go with that voice, and it has an impact, I guess, in the trans community as well. So kids will have all these amazing opinions about whether that's ethical or not, and what problems could arise from that. So
Love it. Love it. That'd be a pretty good, probably a pretty good one for what we're going to do today too. Let's see. All right. Can you guys see this, or are there still gray
We're still
chunks?
seeing something blocking part of it at the end. Right where
Absolutely.
you have your cursor hovering.
All right. Well, I'm just going to have to not look at your faces today. All right. So in general, what we know from our readings and what to keep in mind, your priorities are that it be interesting to students, and you really do want it to mimic the types of texts that practitioners of their discipline would actually read, write, and or use. So, people who are writing code, they like to share, but how? Little articles, little bits. So, think authentically, and it sounds like we got some good stuff. So for today, we're going to dive into chapter 3 of the book, Writing Within the Disciplines. College Board says, and they say some good stuff, if students are to learn, they must write, which I think can probably be, a challenge for some of us to manage. So what I'd like you to do is, in your book, open it. I've been marking on mine. Just kind of thumb through, review pages 68 through 71. This is the chunk Writing Within Math. And I want you to remind yourself what you read in there If nothing else, just write on page 68. Identify an assumption the author has, something you agree with, something you would argue with, or something you will act upon. I want you to, as we do, jot down your response on, paper. And then I'm going to put you in breakout rooms to share your thoughts. So an assumption you think the author has, something you agree with, something you would argue with, something you will act upon. You can respond to one or two or all.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I just almost went ahead and uploaded them. I thought, no, I'm not going to do it.
All right, I'm going to send you in to discuss. Here you go. See you back in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Am I in a breakout session with you?
No, you are. Here, let me get you there.
And again, when you put me in a breakout session and I came back, I have no camera.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what.
Does it say, do you have something to click? Because you're supposed to be with Daniel, Katie, and Patty.
I have nothing to click.
Dadgummit. Well, let's try this. I'm going to move you to room 3.
Oh.
Okay, how's the screen? It's okay. What
So
if I
you're
do?
just sharing a window instead of your whole screen now.
So I just moved a bunch of stuff in front of it. Can you still see it?
No, it looks great.
Okay, then we're just gonna have to settle for a less clean and polished look today. All right. So I just have so many things I want to just discuss with you guys. So we're gonna keep on moving. I love this though from page 74 because she kind of goes through these questions and possible pitfalls, things like that. But I love this. Where did we get the idea that every word students write has to be assessed, assigned a grade, and duly recorded to create a score that somehow reflects the writing worth of a student? Students should have many, many opportunities to write with reduced pressure on the teacher to formally assess each piece of writing. We are not professional editors. We are facilitators of learning. And then just a quick review. I know all of you know this, but when we think about writing, somehow it in teachers' minds, it becomes something that's very formal and laborious, and it doesn't need to be. So our formative assessment, right? We can use writing to check for learning. We're not grading the writing, we're checking for understanding, right? And then it offers guidance. Summative assessments after the learning, the proof is in the pudding. Let's see if you got it. And then there may be some formal, like, how do scientists write? Is this written in that format? Some of that stuff, if that's what you've been learning. So just keep those things so that you don't have such a burden with writing. It doesn't have to be stressful. It's helpful. It's processing for the kids. If we have writing embedded across within curriculum, You know, we're going to make sure that kids are learning. It promotes the brain's attentive focus. It boosts long-term memory because we know the kinesthetic activity, the constructing of the language to then put it on paper, and then you're reading it. Well, I mean, all of this is good for the brain. It illuminates patterns, gives the brain time for reflection, and is a source of conceptual development and stimulus, right? Because I can actually watch my processing as a learner, and then I can revise while I'm thinking. Timmy, what do you call it with your kids when they need to reflect? You're muted.
I always do that. I ask them to explain their brain.
Because just writing, and if they're putting explain their brain, like I came up with this thought, that's great. Let's get on paper how you processed that. What is your thinking here? Timmy's just awesome. We talk a lot. So, okay. So this chapter really does look at ways to ensure writing happens. So how do we get kids to write? She gives us 7 really great paths to writing. We will not be able to play with all of them today, but I wanted to dive in at least on a few that I think are nice and easy for all of us to get in there. The blog, man, I have read and reread the blog part, and I wish I were back in the classroom because I think I could make that work. It just feels like there's a lot of teaching about blogging that would have to happen too, but maybe that's just on me. I think that sounds like a real possibility for maybe our computer technology guy, but that's just an idea there. Okay, let's look at bell ringers. Who already uses bell ringers? I had one prepared every single day. It's up, it's ready. The kids know to look for it. It may be connected to yesterday's learning. It may be connected to tomorrow's learning. It may be connected to almost nothing, except it helps, you know, convey a relationship, whatever. But you can use bell ringers as writing prompts. Again, not stressful. But here's a sample. Albert Einstein once said, "It's a miracle that curiosity survives formal education." So there's something to ponder, right? Agree or disagree, and why? Great. While I'm taking roll, they're responding to this. Bell ringers should build background knowledge. And if nothing else, it helps us see what background knowledge we have or don't have. It should require thinking. It should require evaluation. It should require decision-making. So all of those things activate thinking and then connect them, engage them in our discipline. Okay.
Can I say something? You know,
Yeah.
I had bell ringers. I still use bell ringers. Some
Good.
days I had free writes because I think students need to be able. Some of the days I would have the bell ringers up. I'd have students say, "Can I just write what I want to write?" Because, well, they wanted to express maybe something going on with their lives, and
They wanted a journal.
Yes, and found out a lot of things about kids by allowing them to, okay, well, you still might need to do this one, but yes, you can write. So it still provided a writing opportunity, and I'll take what I can get sometimes, because sometimes you just can't get anything.
Well, you know, Juanita, the idea here is that we're writing to connect with the discipline. But if you're an adolescent who has something forward on your mind, and putting it on paper is a way to kind of put it down so I can then focus on something else.
Exactly.
I mean, that's because if I'm thinking about what happened this morning and I can put that on paper, I can then set that physically aside so I can focus on this other thing that's, you know, so yeah, I would never make a kid beg to write. You know what, you do it, you write that, and then later maybe we can come back to this other thing. So love that. And I don't think we're going to actually break out on this because we got some other stuff coming up, but keep in mind that when we ask students to respond, we are asking for a particular process. Okay, so our author says a response differs from an analysis in that writers interpret the text through a subjective stance, making connections, bringing background knowledge as they seek to interpret the author's message. So this is one of those safe spaces where teenagers who definitely have opinions, even about stuff they don't know about, they get to respond, right? There's no right, there's no wrong, but what we get is we get to see where they're coming from. We can also sort of judge how to take them through or back on a different path. So we love responses because it tells us about the learner, and the learner learns from responding. So bell ringers, just keep in mind, we want bell ringers to be a stimulus, okay? One of the other paths that she gave us, read, think, respond. And let's see, this one I think is on page, read, think, respond. I think this is number 3 and it's on page 85. I also just love, just as a book nerd, I love how she says how it works, why it works. She gives you options for all of these. So read, think, respond, RTR. We want a short but complex piece of text. They should think about the text and then write a response. Okay. So possible prompts. What did the author say? What was the message? What was insightful, interesting, confusing, or just plain wrong? What do I think about the author's message? And there's actually a helpful chart of this. You could use it or completely ignore it. On page 88, she's kind of got it charted out there. So I don't know, you could have that, you know, kids could kind of make that. They could respond to one or all 3, or they could pick one. Which question do you want to answer? That kind of thing. It is subjective though. So I'm going to give you an example. Okay. Take a moment, please read this text. It's a graphic. My question for you is, what in the text is insightful, interesting, confusing, or just plain wrong? This is called the evolution of public education. After you've looked at it for maybe another minute, go ahead and jot down your response. Something that's insightful, interesting, confusing, or just plain wrong. Oops. Anyone? Is that your favorite part? Oops. Okay, take a moment just to practice the brain activity of writing. Answer that question in writing. Doesn't have to be long, just quick. All right, what you have written is not going to be, submitted to the Library of Congress. It does not have to be submitted for a grade on, its value as prose. It's just your response. Who would like to unmute and share their response? And it can be what you wrote, or you can just say what you've thought since writing or during writing. Something insightful, interesting, confusing, or just plain wrong.
I think it's hilarious, and I guess I think it's interesting to look back over the 31 and a half years in education. I've been in education, of all the pendulum swings and all the changes, and it's like we keep reinventing the wheel and calling it something else and throwing more things on it. I thought that was kind of funny.
Thank you, Timmy. So I now, as a classroom teacher, I have some incredibly important background knowledge about Timmy as a learner. She came at this thing kind of with a personal, like, here's how I see it, and I connect it to my personal experience in this way. So there's no wrong here. I got to actually learn about Timmy. Timmy's actually thinking, she's analyzing this text, but she's connecting it to her personal experience and her background knowledge. Anyone else want to say something?
Yes, I do. I'm the faceless one. I think when I first looked at it, I think, we have those aha moments on the bookmark. And to me, I think this would be an aha moment for the powers that be. So, it's like, we educators have been, at least a lot, have been, saying we need to teach them. It's kind of like teaching a person how to fish. Don't just hand them the fish, teach them how to fish. Let them fail. Let them
not fall off a cliff.
Yeah, right. Right.
Maybe we go back to the basics sometimes. Yes. Okay, excellent. So hopefully you guys see that this does not need to take a long time. But what we're doing is we're activating a processing piece where they are reading text, they are responding to it in writing. The value of what they have up here is now on paper, and they've shared. Whether they say it out loud or not, they have now written, they have composed, they have constructed from their personal life connecting with a text. Okay, so the talk back is another one we can use. And I want you guys, this is one of those don't talk back, talk back. So we're not inviting disrespect, but we are inviting, even promoting argumentation. It should be intellectual, but it can also, so we're going to talk back. We're not just going to take what you say for granted. We're going to question it. Okay. So we're going to focus them, though. A talk back should focus on a specific point that the student feels is worthy of discussion. So you see, it's still a student choice coming to the table. Our author advises this activity works best when there is some question about the topic or when the author is taking a strong, perhaps biased position. Look for topics that represent controversial or thought-provoking issues in your discipline. Now, I always want to give a little warning, right? Don't go controversial that gets you in trouble. Go controversial in there are at least two sides to this argument within the discipline. Okay. There are hot button topics that I'm sure would be interesting to adolescents, but we don't need to go there. We need to keep them within the discipline. Okay. So talk back. We want room for argument and controversy within the discipline. So I'm going to put this link in the chat. It's, I think, a 5-minute skim, maybe an 8-minute careful read. You don't have to read the whole thing, but I'm going to put this in here. I'd like you to take a look at it, and then we'll talk about how we can talk back with it. If I can find the chat. Oh, there's the chat. Is that a link?
No,
No, it's not. It's just a title. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna copy the link and put it here. Okay, there it is. So the title today for our talk back is Searching for City Lights on Other Planets. And it's from an actual Scientific American, it's a real thing. I'm going to give you a few minutes, just read it and enjoy it. If you're not finished reading, it's okay. You don't have to finish to complete this. And same for your students. Remember, we're looking for them to decide what is worthy of discussion. So if perchance, like me, you don't understand some of the vocabulary in that reading, there are still things that we can respond to, argue with, agree with, or talk back against, right? Because this author, while he's talking about some pretty complex measurements and things and some places out there and some stuff with light, he's also espousing some opinions about ignorance, discovery, things like that. So take a moment and really anything in this article that's worthy of talking back to, take a moment and speak to the author. In writing, of course. if you've got some slow readers in your class, and I was always slow, there's still room here for everyone to be a part of it. Because even if I only slowly, methodically get through the first paragraph, I can still do a response to it because I'm a teenager. I can argue with anything. Anyone want to share a response, a talk back you got to this guy? By the way, this is an opinion article, obviously. It's not just some scientific piece. It's a science guy with an opinion. Anyone want to share what you'd like to talk back to? Okay, I won't make anyone speak. We do need to keep moving though. So here's why talkback works. And I know you read this, but I felt it was worthy of a reminder. Arguments and explanations within a discipline are built up out of the context of ongoing conceptual learning. It's never over. Whatever the discipline is, the practitioners are always learning. We argue, we explain, we grow, we learn. So nothing should be static. So even students reading and then writing in response, they're now contributing or at least participating in what practitioners of the discipline do. Anyone want to say anything about a talk back, how you could use it, how it might be useful to you in your discipline next year? Okay. It's a good thing we're not in the same room together. I'd awkwardly come near you and stare at you. Okay. Differentiated learning logs. This is, I think a lot of us, especially I think of science teachers, English teachers, we do a lot of journals, things like that, but this is something a little bit special. Our author says the purpose of this log is to hold ongoing reflection, analysis, evaluation, and application of new information. So I know what's new to me. I know what I think about. I know my analysis, and it may not, my log won't necessarily be the same as someone else's. And you can't tell me what to put in my log. I'm in control of my learning, my thinking. It is important to note that the log belongs to the student and no two will look exactly alike. We want to allow students autonomy regarding everything, its organization, decoration, and even its content. Because if I have like my own little reflection section, it's going to be completely unique to me. And my reflection section may have, you know, stickers of planets everywhere and doodles of lizards, because that's what I do. Learning logs. We do have a caution. If for some reason teacher takes control of this, like it's a notebook that should be, you know, meeting certain procedures and standards, the motivation goes away. So you want it to be driven by, owned by, organized by, and maintained by students. This learning tool starts where all individualized instruction must start, and that's with the learner. So it's a learner-driven design. It's a bus or a plane. It's whatever they want it to be, and they put in it what needs to be put in there. So here's what we looked at very, very briefly today as we were reviewing chapter 3. We looked at the differentiated learning log, bell ringer, questions and answers, read, think, respond, and talk back. And I would argue that many of your pieces that you guys already found for your authentic, you know, your authentic readings in your discipline, you could segment them if they're long and have a piece be read, think, respond. You could, I mean, any number of those. You could have them not only for the reading, but then also for the writing pieces. 3 of them, though, that we didn't really play with together was the exit, enter, middle of class, quick jot. And that's a mouthful, but you know, we have exit slips, we have entrance slips. Be strategic about a moment when I can put my thinking on paper and how it'll help me process better. From content to story, it is not just for an English classroom. It is, if we can turn something into a narrative, if we can give face, life, and spirit to anything in any discipline, we're personalizing it. So I'm crazy about that. And I love that she included a raft. When I was an instructional coach and literacy resource, I used raft in every classroom I visited, because you can use a raft for absolutely any topic, anytime. And then blogging it up. I really hope next time I hear from someone who's got a great blogging idea, which brings us to before next time. We've got chapter 4 we'll visit on next time. And that's where we're looking at inquiry within, not across, within the disciplines, but also look at one of those 7 ways to get students writing within the disciplines, and bring a possible lesson. Don't go crazy. It's not stressful, but you know what you're going to teach next year, most of you. So if there's a lesson, how could we use one of these ways to get them writing towards that lesson next year? And we'll share with a partner next week. Before we go, also be thinking for chapter 3, what's the biggest takeaway? What's the aha? What is the VIP idea? The very important perspective, the thing. I'll give you a minute to think about that, and then I'd love to hear from some of you what you put in your chapter 3 must share, because it's a must share. Or would you prefer to put it in the chat and not speak aloud? We're very quiet today.
No, I'll go ahead and speak.
Okay.
I'm only quiet to give other people a time for speaking. Believe you me.
What a giver.
Okay, my aha moment, although I really enjoyed this chapter, and there were a lot of really neat nuggets in it, but I think for me, I love the read, think, respond. Just absolutely love that. And I love, in some cases, the text may be so complex that students don't know how to respond, but with this low risk activity, they feel they can say something. And opening the path for more in-depth writing later. And you're right, kids are going to have an opinion on anything, okay? But giving them that freedom to write what they want to write about that, I think just it creates a safe environment as well.
And
So,
you've given them a tool to either model by or, you know, to aspire to.
right. Anyway, that was mine.
Nice.
I really like that. And I think kind of going off of what she just said about the, you know, the read, think, and then the respond, I think it's really cool because, you know, you do have some students that when they read it and it's complex enough, they're kind of like, you know, I don't really know how to write this and put this into words. And I think that's when the talk back comes into play, because if the students can't write it down, they can kind of vocalize it. And then, because I know I've had students that they can't write it down, but once we start talking a little bit, we're able to kind of start filling in those gaps and understanding, and then we're able to write it down. So I think that's what I kind of got out of it too.
Well, and how beautiful that the writing then is seen as an extension of the conversation. It's from you, and it's so valuable that it gets put on paper. So Yes, I love all that. And writing, if I may, just return you to the thing that I think should drive us. If students are to learn, they must write. So if a math teacher really wants their math kids to learn, should they write? They should. They should. They'll learn it better. They'll understand it more, and they'll understand their learning. We get all metacognitive when we get writing. So gosh, this has been so much fun. Can't wait to see you guys next week, where we will look at inquiry. Woo! So bring back your stuff. How are you going to include writing in a lesson next year? And we'll share and then dive in. All right. Thanks, everybody.